In this game, that means you lose. Butler smashed his fist into the goat's mouth and smashed teeth bounced off the ceiling. Butler-sama. If you stop thinking, it means you've given up on this story being a mystery. Which means, as far as you're concerned, this game is fantasy. Butler lifted up his arm, realizing that was a signal. Lucifer and Siesta 000 jumped. If you stopped thinking, you don't deserve to be an actor on the stage. Stop trying to sound smart. Go sit in the audience and stuff your mouth with popcorn. The goat lifted his fist again, then swung it down at Butler like a hammer. Eh sì, ha senso. Che ha senso se uno non... Esatto. If you're surrounded to surrounded. Eccolo qua. Quello che volevo dire, ha senso se uno si arrende, appunto. Se uno si arrende e non pensa più, tanto vale che sia fantasy, infatti. If you surrendered to fantasy, then that just makes you another target. It's the same, come l'ho detto. It's the same as acknowledging that we exist. Begin recognition of hostile elements. Mark all targets vulnerable to magic attacks in our HMDs. Kids who surrender to fantasy get to deal with us. And if you have a theory, we will hear you out. We'll welcome those people with open arms. Out of respect for them, we won't hold anything back. Oh, but it would seem that this is Butler-sama's time to shine. Well, I would like to listen to all of your favorite theories, both mystery and fantasy. This isn't your game right now. No matter how much you future fragments try to deny us, this is no time for me to be defeated. Dai, tira fuori il ferro, lo spadone dorato. A golden glint gathered in Butler's hand. It was so bright the whole hall was bathed in gold. Golden butterflies flitted about as though the whole hall was being swallowed up by the golden land. Butler lifted his golden longsword high. Feel free to challenge Beato's game as a mystery or a fantasy. I welcome it. But know this, I'm not gonna let you deny this final game of mine. Feel the shame of your indiscretion of impugning the honor of those who have passed away. A slice of the golden longsword flooded the hall with a sea of golden light. È arrivato l'MVP. Then the whole group of goats filling the hall with noise turned into clouds of gold butterflies and scattered. Even so, only about 100 of them had been wiped out. Before long, the massive crowd of goats outside will probably come pouring in like seawater through a hole in the bottom of a ship. Just a bit longer until the seal is finished. Sorry, but I'll have to ask you to hold out here a bit longer. Of course, Butler. Otherwise, we wouldn't get to show off. E voi cosa fate? Le cose magiche. You know, you two could try fighting just a little. Ecco, appunto. But we're just the MCs. Their excessively blunt refusal drew a faint strained smiles. However, he had lessened the tension in the room just a bit. Butler-sama, leave this to us. We won't allow the corrosion to proceed any further. And none of us will be left behind. Of course, we are all precious pieces on Lord Butler's game board. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, the Sister Sister troops, and everyone else nodded forcefully. Yeah, I'm counting on all of you. We'll definitely protect this final game I made for ANGE. They're managing to hold their ground down below. The door to the Golden Land is still opening slowly. It will still take some time though. There you have it. We'd better start buying some time ourselves. The sea of goats that covered the ground below them was jostling about more and more. By now, even the sea surrounding the island had disappeared. The horizon was gone, and the chewed-up island was now floating on an eerie emptiness like space. The goats that flooded the edges of Rokkenjima seemed to be spilling off the sides. Looks like that's it for this game board. As long as there's a game master and pieces, the game board can always be laid out again. As long as you have two people together, you can create any sort of game. True. Where on earth is ANGE? Where did you hide it? That's right, the chapel. What happened to the chapel? It's still there. The chapel looked like a white building floating in a pitch-black sea of goats. Yes, this was strange. There was no way those goats who had consumed everything would go out of their way to avoid just the chapel. That's where ANGE is. Outside the chapel was a sea of goats. Very soon the earth around the chapel would be eaten away and it would probably end up floating on nothingness. The rampage of the goats as they devoured everything and chanted the tragedy they imagined with one voice truly made a lot of noise. However, none of that reached the inside of the chapel. ANGE finally broke the magic seal on the entrance and stepped inside. The seal was supposed to be unbreakable by anyone. However, in the face of ANGE Beatrice, Witch of Truth, the one who sought the truth and could sweep aside all forces that prevented her from finding it, no barrier was absolute. There it is. A single book, tightly locked, rested on the altar. It was the hidden diary that Ushiromi Eva had written in in her later years. Ok, scusate. It was the hidden diary that Ushiromi Eva had written in her later years. The book of the single truth. It was the one Fezarin has shown her in the world of 1998. This time I have the key. I gripped the gold key that sat in my pocket. The key Onichan gave to me. As I approached the altar, I saw the book of the single truth was wrapped in a strange bending of the light. So this is the seal of the game master that Ben Castle talked about. The book of the single truth was sealed in something like a crystal. It was a seal made by the game master's authority. This was on a different level than the breakable magic seal on the chapel door. No matter how ANGE used their power as a Witch of Truth, this couldn't be broken by anyone except by anyone except the Game Master. However, this time Butler wasn't the only Game Master. I'm so sorry, Onichan. Ben Castle is also a Game Master. I just need to take it with me and have her break the seal. ANGE slowly approached the altar. Will ANGE really do as you say? This is my little sister we are talking about, so yeah, probably not. Then What we will do? Looks like we got nothing to go on but brute force. At that moment, a fierce impact hit the pair of them. Beato was flung away and Butler was sealed inside a massive crystal that extended up to the heavens. Damn, what the hell is this? Butler! What is this? It was a barrier, a massive cage of crystal. Butler was shut inside a crystal cage like a tower, so large that you have to look up to see the top. Beato, I need you to take care of ANGE. What will you do? Can you break this from the inside all by yourself? Is this a locked room barrier? Who could have? There's only one person who challenged me with a locked room. Looks like our final guest has finally arrived. You don't mean... Go and take care of ANGE. Beato left Butler to handle this on his own and headed for the chapel. Butler took a deep breath and then smiled daringly. I've been waiting. Was it boring in the depths of Oblivion place? The answer, ancora oggi ho molto la Z. The answer was a laugh. Yeah, that's right. That laugh is enough. Looks like you're doing well. It wasn't boring. After all, I believed. I bet you did. I believed too. Butler flung off the cape of the territory lord. It would only get in the way. And it would be a rude way to welcome his final guest. Those dark depths. Just the perfect place to think up mysteries to challenge you with when we next met. So, this crystal cage is the ring for our duel. A chain deathmatch with nowhere to run. Now that you mention it, we're always fighting over locked rooms with chains. Then let's use that. Make it a real chain deathmatch. I'm prepared, but what about you? I am. I told you, didn't I? I believed too. At the same time, they both brandished their mysteries, sealing the other in a chained, locked room. At the same time, they were both sealed inside a locked room, locked with a chain. Of course, it was easy to set and unset the chain from the inside, however, stepping into their opponent's chained room would be difficult. They were fighting to the death with two chain-locked rooms at once. There could be no better locked room duel for this pair, who had both battled with theories concerning chained rooms so often. Frudo Erika committed suicide, died in an accident, died of an illness, died by some reason other than homicide. It wasn't a suicide. It wasn't a suicide, it wasn't an accidental death, it wasn't a death by an illness. I really was killed by you, Butler-san. It was a... It was a murder committed by slipping poison gas through the crack of the door, by filling the room with water and drowning you, by sucking the oxygen out of the room and making you suffocate.
毒ガスではありません。溺死ではありません。窒息死でもありません。
There was no poison gas, there was no drowning, there was no death by suffocation.
密室殺人に毒ガス？溺死？窒息死？
beh, scusa, devo coprire le basi, Erika, scusami, A locked room murder with poison gas, death by drowning, suffocation. Crazy, right? It's funny, isn't it?
グッと。後ろ宮バトラは自殺である、事故死である、病死である。
Vabbè, uscirà il mio butler committed suicide, he died in an accident, he died by an illness. Time for me to test your locked room. Right truth. Ushiromiya Butler was stabbed to death. Let's say the weapon was a knife, stuck right into his back. Pazzi. Good. Nothing beats a classic locked room. Then why don't you try it too? I'll take that challenge with the red roof. Furudo Erika was stabbed to death. The weapon was a knife, stuck right in her back. Interesting. I'll tear your locked room to bits. Deve essere interessante da vedere, Jover. What's this supposed to be? Butler is busy at the moment with other business. For now, I shall be your opponent. Beato has sealed the chapel with a locked room barrier. Unless that riddle was smashed with blue truth, ANGE wouldn't be able to leave the chapel. After shrugging impatiently, ANGE finally faced Beato. Is this the first time I fought you directly? Oh, is it now? Very well, let's see what you've got. However, Butler isn't here at the moment. When he's not around, I sometimes forget to hold back. What a coincidence. I feel the same.
完全なる密室にてそなたを殺した。窓も扉も他すべてのいかなる方法をもっても外部との出入りはできぬ。
I killed you inside a perfect locked room with windows, doors, and all other methods of entry or exit blocked. Okay, I'll play along with your game. Oh, che bello sentirlo dire da lei. Repetition requested. Che nostalgia. Oh, ok. Achiyo Toya. And then you see, the public will be told that among the works entered into the first Company X Mystery Novel Contest, a work from the amazing Achiyo was once again submitted under a false name. Of course, we'll have produced a movie version and a TV drama, all of it ready for a simultaneous and coordinated launch. I hope this makes clear how eager we are at Company X to receive your manuscript. And will there be a prize? Would there be prize money? Oh, but of course! The 10 million yen prize for Company X first mystery novel contest will all go to you. And much more besides. Splendid. You've caught my interest. That's why I've decided not to write up a manuscript. What? Madame Achiyo, why? Everything had seemed to be going so smoothly up until then, so this sudden refusal made the people from the publishing company fall over in their sofa. This little scheme of yours is far more interesting than the manuscript I wrote, which is why this manuscript is unsuitable for your company. It was always a worthless story. Mere junk prose to entice my ignorant readers into somehow ignoring their own ignorance and feeling as though they have exhausted the limits of reasoning. I was hoping that they'd recognize the irony and laugh at their own foolishness, but it looks like you've taken it seriously. Yes, I can say I'm ashamed of my own failure as a writer. Of course not! Please forgive us. Please let us use your work. I have no need for money, but some pet food would be nice. Pet food? Oh, for your cat! There was a rumor that you had a cat who liked dried plums. Yes, as you wish. Quickly, let's have some high-quality assortment of dried plums in here. She only eats the ones that are packaged separately at 200 yen apiece. At this rate, she'll die of high blood pressure. She snacks some kimchi and spicy miso soup all the time too. Really, there must be something wrong with that cat's tongue. The cat meowed an objection from where it laid on top of the bookshelf. I cannot give you this manuscript, but why don't I write up a new one for your company's contest? However, I won't write under my name. It's estimated that thousands of manuscripts will be sent in for your contest. If you manage to pick out mine from the pack, and if you also find it deserving of a prize, then I will be happy to continue our discussion just now. How does that sound? Yes, of course! Just the honor of receiving your manuscript is more than enough. You people truly are amusing, fawning and cringing all the time. But I've grown weary of this for today. Leave now. Meeting with the children of man can be so tiring. Thank you. We are deeply grateful for your kindness in allowing us this meeting. A servant guided the people from the publishing company to the door. In the study that was now finally quiet, Achi Yotoya let out a sigh, slumped down in the sofa, and gazed at the ceiling. It is tiring, but the stimulation of talking with a child of man isn't such a bad thing in small doses. It's good for you to talk to people every now and then. You'll go senile if you stay shut in all the time. The black cat leaped from the bookshelf and landed softly on the carpet. Nuovo background. Then its form silently twisted and became that of Bencaster. Indeed, they certainly can be entertaining. Inviting them over now and then may go a long way to alleviating my boredom. At any rate, I think I'll write that manuscript when I feel like it. It sounds like they'll even bring a gift for you. What's all this about pet food? How rude. Well, that's what it is. Here. Achijo picked up a jar from a shelf, then took a dried plum out of it and threw it into the air. In an instant, Bencaster turned back into a black cat, caught it in midair, and started munching away. Miss Achiyo, your guests have departed. A servant knocked on the door before making this announcement. Thank you. Let me know if that one wakes up.
かしこまりました。
As you
何
wish.
かお紅茶を入れ
Would
まし
you
ょう
like some tea?
いえ
No.
少し執筆を
I'm
し
going
ます
to write for a
し
bit.
ばらく放っておく
Please do not disturb me.
はい。
Yes, ma'am. That one. After waiting for the servant's footsteps to disappear into the distance, Achio moved to her desk. The desk certainly looked as though it belonged to a great writer, with pages of manuscript scattered across it.
この世紀末にまだペン
Even
で書
though
いて
the
るの
century is almost over, you still write with a pen. The black cat spoke as it tore the dry plum apart with its mouth.
物語はインクで記す
Tales are to be written with ink.
それが私
To
の不
me,
変のル
that is
ー
an
ルで
unbreakable rule.
インクで書いて同じもの
So
をキー
you
ボード
write
で
it
打
once
ち
with
直す
ink, then type the whole thing over again with a keyboard?
バカな二度手間だ
Pretty
な
stupid to do the same thing twice.
ならばな
In
ぜ
that
人の
case,
子は
why does a
心
child
の
of
中で
man
物
draw
語
up a tale
を
in their
描
mind,
き
then
それを
spit
わ
the
ざ
whole
わざキ
thing
ー
up
ボー
again
ドで
on a
打ち直す
keyboard?
というのか人の子の二
How
度手間も
foolish
バ
of
カ
them
バ
to
カ
do the
しい
same thing twice.
ならあんたは3度手間ってわけだわ
Ha un'intonazione diversa però qua Bern. Look at it that way, look at it that way, and you're doing the same thing 3 times.
今のは面白かった
That was a good one. Even as Acidio laughed, the fountain pen was already sliding across the page. Beautiful letters appeared almost as fast and proficiently as a typewriter. Only humans call their creations manuscripts. With her fountain pen and writing paper, she was creating a world. As she did, the hands of the clock would spin around like a top. The lights and shadows that came in through the window changed their angle so fast they might have been the hands of the clock themselves. Slowly, she drew a large axe across the tightly packed words on the paper.
気乗りしないの
Having trouble?
うまく書けぬ
I can't draw it out well.
人を楽しませる
Writing a
原
manuscript
稿
to
は
please others
めん
is
どくさいもの
truly
だ
a
な
pain.
何しろ普段
After all, I don't
人に
usually
読ませるため
write
に
for
文字
other
など
people
書か
to
んの
read.
よなあんた
Why don't you just try taking whatever it is you're trying to say and writing that down? Ben Castle curled up on the sofa, a mocking smile on her face. Normally, whenever Acidio was writing, Bercastel would never let herself be noticed, much less talk to her. However, realizing that Acidio was apparently getting bored with her manuscript, Bercastel yawned and started talking.
何を書いてるの
What is it that you're writing anyway?
人の子に捧げる物
A
語だ
tale to give to a child of man.
どこの人の子
Which child of man?
我に朗読を捧げたる
It's a
ミコ
tale I
に
promised to
約束
write
した
for a
物語
Miko who once read for me.
ああまだ書いてたの
You're still writing that?
何を書けばあ
What
れは
can I
満足す
write
る
that
の
would
か
give her satisfaction?
私にはも
The
う
answer is no longer clear to me.
またアウアウが投げ出
Looks
したな
like Awao is giving up yet again.
あんたはいつだって
You always
勝手に物
promise
語
to
を
write a
約束
story,
して
then get stuck before
最
you
後まで書き
finish
きれ
it,
なくなって
before you're
投げ出す
finished,
のね
and give up.
投げ出さぬからこう
If
し
I
て
had
悩ん
given up, I wouldn't be worrying over it like this.
エンジが望む物語は
There's
最
only
初から一つし
one
かないわ
there's only one tale that Anges wanted from the beginning.
一なる真実の物語か
The tale of the single truth.
エンジはあの
Angie
日
wished
に
to
何
know
があっ
what
たのか知
happened
り
that
たいと
day.
希望しているわそれを煙
No
なき
matter
物語
how
を
many
いくら
tales you
書いて
write distorting the
満
truth,
足するわけも
she'll
ない
never be satisfied.
一なる真実より
And
も
yet,
私
I
の
do
物語
think
の
my
方がよ
tales
ほ
are
ど
far
面
more
白いと思うのだ
interesting
が
than
な
the single truth.
エンジは
And
面
Angie
白い
doesn't
物語
want
が
to
読み
read
たい
an
んじゃない
interesting
の
tale.
私はあの人の子に
I
そなたの
promised
た
a
めに
child
物
of
語を
man that I
書く
would
と
write
約
a
束し
tale
た
for her sake.
だから私は
So I'm writing a
あやつ
tale
の
to
ために
please her.
どんなに面白かろ
No
うと
matter how
面
interesting
白
or
くなかろうと
uninteresting it
あん
is,
たが書くそれは
everything you write is
全
an
て幻想
illusion.
だわエンジは
Angie
そんな
doesn't
ものを
want
一切
any
望
of
んでいない
that.
まだわかんないの
Haven't you figured out that? Haven't you figured that out yet?
一なる真実の書は 後宮エヴァが記した。
The book of the single truth was written by Ushiromiya Eva. Hidden amongst the pile of writing paper was Eva's diary.
そして筆者は
Furthermore, the one who wrote this passed away without revealing it to anyone.
私は物書きの端
Being
く
the,
れとして
the humble
それ
writer
を
that
尊
I
重したい
am,
と
I
思う
would
のだ。
like to respect that.
笑わせないで。
Don't make me
物語
laugh.
の腹渡
Is this coming from the person who entertained herself by tearing out the guts of a tale while enjoying a glass of wine by the light of the moon?
真実などつまらぬぞ。
The truth is uninteresting.
いくつもの物語の
Is
腹渡
that your
を食いちぎ
opinion
ってき
after
た末
tearing
の
apart
感
the
想
guts
だ。
of so many
それ
tales?
そういうことでも
You might as well say that. With a self-mocking laugh, Hachiyo set down her fountain pen.
私は老いた。
I certainly have aged.
老いて最初に
The
理解
first
した
thing
のは
age taught
知
me
ることよ
was
り
that not
知らぬことの
knowing
方
is
が貴
more
重であると
precious
いうこと
than
だ。
knowing.
年寄り臭そうな話だ
That
けど
definitely sounds like something an old person would say, but I'll play
どういう
along.
意味？
What do you mean?
知ることと知
Knowing
らぬこ
and
と。
not knowing.
この二つは
These two
不可逆
things
的な
have a
関係だと
one-way
いうことだ。
relationship.
そうね。
True,
知らぬから
it's
知るに移る
possible
こと
to
はでき
switch
ない
from not knowing to
知るから
knowing,
知らぬには
but you
移れ
can't
ない
do it the other way around.
それを理解したとき
When I realized that,
私は
I
知ら
saw
ぬ
the
こと
noble
に宿る
purity
処女
resembling
性にも似
virginity
た
that
高潔な
exists
る
in
純
not
粋さを理
knowing.
解したのだ。私は退屈
In
から
my
逃れる
attempts
た
to
めに
escape
星の
boredom,
数ほど
I've
の
torn
ゲ
apart
ー
and
ムを
eaten the guts of as many games and tales as there are stars in the sky.
しかしいつも
But
退屈が
always,
癒さ
my
れるのは
relief
ほんの
from
一瞬で
boredom is short-lived.
その儚さ
It's
ゆえ
all
に
so fleeting that I've lost sight of the value in each
私は個々の物語を軽んじてきた。
individual tale.
そうね。
That's right.
猫を食らえば
If you eat a cat, then you only get to enjoy it for one night.
でも生かしておけば
But if you let it live, it might start calling you names and getting
気にこう
sarcastic.
言ったりするようになるかもしれない。そうだな。
Indeed,
勝手に貸し棚を
even
漁
the
って
annoying way they break into your sweet cupboard or sneak into your bed can be part of their charm. Hachio looked around the books covering every square inch of the room, then softly pat the cat's back.
私は一つの物語を
I might have been able to enjoy a single tale much longer and much more
楽しむ
deeply.
ことができたかもしれない。退屈から逃
As
れ
I've
るため
eaten
に
my way through
星の
countless
数の物語を
tales
食
to
い
escape
尽くして
boredom,
きた私
I
は
haven't really
そ
been
もそも初
eating
めか
them.
らただ殺
I've
してい
just
ただ
been
け。
killing them.
結局は
And in the end,
それが
they'll
私
kill
を
me
も殺す
too.
のだ。
Hachio laughed with self-derision.
ベアとのゲームだって
Even in Beato's game, you tried to tear the guts out.
答え合わせを希望しただけ
I
だ。
just wanted to check my
物
answers.
語の
I
紡ぎ手
did
であ
try
るベ
to
ア
do
ト
it
リ
in a
ーチェ
way
には
that respected
敬意を表す
Beatrice,
る
the
形とした
weaver
つも
of
り
this
だが。
tale.
そうね。わか
Yeah,
んないや
I
つに
think it
はわかん
was
ない。
pretty well
うま
read,
い朗読だったと
all
思う
done
わ。
so that people who didn't understand wouldn't find the answer.
エンジェが真実を知ることと
Would it
知
make
ら
for a
ぬ
better tale if Angel
ど
learns
ち
the
らが良い
truth
物
or
語
if she
になる
doesn't?
のか。
To be honest, I don't know
だ
anymore.
からそなたに再
So
び
I'm
軽蔑 さ
fully
れ
aware
ること
that
を
you'll
覚悟
scorn
の
me
上
for it.
私はこの
I've
物語の
decided to
続
stop
きを書
writing
く
the
こ
rest
とを
of
や
this
めよう
tale.
と思う。やめてどうすんの？
What do you mean?
私は書かない。
I won't write it.
記すだけだ。
I will merely record it.
後ろ宮エンジ
The
が
tale that Ushiromiya Ange weaves herself.
またそういうこ
So
とを
you're
する
going
の
to do
だ。
that sort of thing again?
私は真実を
After
知らぬ
growing
ことを
tired of
あえて選ぶ方が高潔であると。
thousand years of life,
千年を生き
I
飽
am
き
at
た
the
末に
opinion
思う。
of the opinion that deliberately choosing not to learn the truth is a more noble path.
しかし100年を生き
However,
る
I
エン
now
ジ
see
に
that it isn't
その価値観を押し
fair
付けるの
to
も
force my
酷で
opinion on Ange, who
今
hasn't
理解
lived even 100 years.
だから
So,
Ange に
you're going to
委ねよう。
leave it in Ange's care?
そうだ。
Yes.
それを私は淡
I
々
will
と示す。
I will write it as it plays
エン
out.
ジに委ねるということは
If you're leaving it to Ange,
この物語に向かう先は
then the future course of this tale is all but set in stone, right?
そうなるだろうな。
It would seem so.
それでいい。
Let it be so.
私が記すどの
After
よう
all,
な
in
物語
the
よ
end,
り
a
も
tale
結
that a
局は
child of man weaves
人の
for
子が自
herself
ら紡ぐ
will be
物語の
more
方
will
が
be more
面白い
fun
んだ
than
から。
any story I could create.
なら
In that case, why don't you lend a hand in Ange's tale? You've already given yourself a role in it, haven't you? So it is my role to bring this tale to its conclusion. Come on, there's no way for someone in Beato's game to talk. It's your job to tear out the guts out of the cat box. Achiyo chuckled, pushed aside the pile of writing paper, and picked up the book of the single truth. Then she opened a locked drawer. That is what Enge desires. Perhaps fate has decided that this book's seal is to be broken. Enge will reach the single truth. The single truth will break the seal of the cat box, and everything will be exposed to the light of day. And so, all of those countless message bottles and fragments made up of delightful imaginings, which have been scattered across the ocean of the internet, will fade away like foam on the sea. After all, even that one is surely tired of such fragments. That one non sappiamo ancora a chi sta facendo riferimento. Salve Luke. It's about time for that kid's journey to end as well. Chi è that kid? Yes, let us accept this task. Let us bring this journey to its final destination. At that moment there were sounds of someone in the hallway. The instant someone knocked on the door, Ben Castle turned back into a black cat. Miss Achijo, please forgive me for interrupting. It was the voice of Achijo's servant. What is it? If it's a phone call, tell them I'm busy. It isn't that. Toya-sama has woken up. Thank you. Prepare a light meal. Enough for the two of us. As you wish. Achijo stood up. Then she shut the open drawer and locked it again. Inside that drawer lay a glittering golden key. Repetition requested. The definition of a locked room prevents all varieties of entering and exiting. Decline repetition. By definition, it is impossible for a locked room murder to take place inside a perfect locked room. The chain have been repaired after it was destroyed. The door might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The wall might have been repaired after it was destroyed. My locked room doesn't involve anything being repaired. Good. This really is getting fun, Butler-san. Sorry, but I don't have time to play with you right now. I'm sorry too, but as a fellow witch of truth, I can't let you get in Ange-san's way. Come to think of it, you're a witch of truth too, aren't you? I see, that makes you a sort of mentor to Ange. The single truth. It is the supreme, the ultimate. Only a witch of truth can break down all barriers that stand between her and that truth. Is this single truth of yours really so important? There are a lot of things in this world that aren't worth knowing. How important is 1986 to Ange, really? It isn't important at all. You're probably right. No matter what happened or didn't happen in 1986, it won't change anything for the Ange living in 1998.
それが知ることの無意
There's
味
no point in learning that
で
truth.
すが
However, there is just one thing that will change.
それはなんだ。
What's that?
どう生きる
How
か
she
です
lives. Erika transformed her reasoning into a scythe blade and lashed out at Butler over and over. Butler also created a blade from his reasoning and attacked Erika over and over. In the middle of all of this, he questioned Erika, the girl who, like ANGE, called herself a witch of truth. Just what is the point of exposing the truth?
そうだ。
You're right.
人は知る。
Knowing certain things often change in the way a person lives their life.
ならば、
In that case, I have one hope as a blood relative.
エンジが
I hope that at the end of my game, ANGE finds a better way to live her
人
life.
生を変えてくれることをな。
知ることで
By learning things, people change the way they live, and not always in a good direction.
世の中
There are plenty of things in this world that will be more comfortable not knowing,
電車の座席
and
シ
you
ー
will
ト
be
に
more
生息する
comfortable
ダイ
not
ヤの
knowing.
数。
The number of ticks living in the seat of a
水
train,
道水にまつ
the
わる
urban legends about nasty stuff in the tap water,
知らねえ方
the
が
world
マシ
full
な
of
話は
things you'd
キリ
better
が
off
ねえ
not
ぜ。
knowing. The book of the single truth probably can teach ANGE about what happened on this island. But what's the point in her knowing that? It will just increase the sadness she's felt for 12 years. How many more years will it take for her to find happiness as an ordinary girl? How many years will it take for her wounds to be healed? ANGE's desire to find the truth is hurting her, regardless of what the truth actually is. Though her deep wounds were slow to heal, they did begin to do so during those 12 years. However, ANGE kept picking at the scabs. In her search for the truth, she tore at those wounds herself, opening them up once more. It's time for ANGE to be free of her sadness from 1986. That's the thing all of us Ushiromias pray for.
そんなの
Who
知ったこ
cares
とあり
about
ま
that?
せん真実こ
The
そ
truth
全て
is everything. The
真実
truth
こそ正
is
義
justice.
中学の頃に
That's a disease everyone catches at one time in middle
大
school.
人が隠すこと
The
を
desire
や
to
たらと知
find
りた
out
くない
all those things adults are hiding.
それを暴く
And
の
don't you
が
think it's fun to
楽しい
find
んじゃ
that
ない
out?
ですか
ああ、そうだ
Yeah, totally.
大人の方が
Reading dirty books wouldn't be nearly so fun if you didn't have to do it in secret. Due coglioni comunque alla fine.
そなたの青きくさびのすべてを
I deny all of your blue wedges with the red truth.
そなたの提示
None
する
of the
全て
methods
の
you
方法で
suggested could
我らの
defeat
理質を
my
破
locked
るこ
room.
とはできぬ
ANGE was breathing heavily. The book of the single truth was right before her eyes. If she could just defeat Beato, she'd be able to take the book to Ben Castle, and then she could read what was inside. Even though the truth of the final family conference on October 4th and 5th, 1986 was right there, the Golden Witch stood in her way. Her anger and hatred spun around inside her head, wiping out the composure that she needed to create theories. ANGE shook her head several times, clearing away everything that got in the way of thinking. However, no matter how many times she fought it through, the locked room ceiling here in the chapel was perfect. ANGE wasn't particularly familiar with the mystery genre. However, she knew about all the fragments containing Beato's game so far. Her knowledge was shallow, but it would still have been enough to give her a good foothold. However, no matter how many blue truths she shot at Beato, none of them even made the witch flinch. Beato just blew them apart with a red truth and an elegant wave of her pipe.
いい加減に諦め
It's about time you gave
わ
up.
らわは
I don't even view this game between the two of us. I don't even view this as a game between the two of us. You're trying to say that I could never solve this puzzle? I'm just buying time until Butler finishes entertaining Erika. He is the only one who can bring you to your senses. Bring me to my senses? You're the ones doing this to me by hiding the single truth. That's why I'm fighting you. This is my right. As the final member of the Ushiromiya family, I have a right to know the truth. Indeed. And that is the purpose of this final game. That's right. Without this final game, I wouldn't have been given the chance to reach the truth. At least that's one thing I'm grateful for. But as for what happened in 1986, as for who took your relatives and your family away from you, as a human, your desire to know the truth is quite natural. However, even knowing this, Butler decided that it would be best if you didn't return to 1986. I know what Onichan's trying to say. He's telling me to look to the future and live, instead of being stuck in the past, right? Correct. Butler wanted Butler wanted to use this final game to show you that. In that case, I gave my answer at the beginning. It's thanks but no thanks, Golden Witch. Back in 1986, I was already dead. I wandered about like a ghost for 12 years since then. And when Aunt Eva died, I lost my only reason to stick around on this earth as a ghost. That's why I decided to do one last thing before ending my life. And that thing will be learning the truth from 1986. Yeah, something wrong with that. Indeed there is, foolish girl. So, when you do reach the truth, you plan to die. In that case, I can't let you have it. I must trick you and blind you as much as I can to keep you alive. Butler wants you to live. Life without truth is no better than being dead. I'm trying to find the truth so I can live. You just admitted that you were searching for the truth so you could die. Yeah, that's true. Then let me rephrase that. I'm trying to find the truth so I can die. I offered up my life when I made my contract with Bencaster. Also that I could learn what happened that day. That single truth will be the souvenir I take with me to hell. It's useless. You cannot break this locked room. This locked room is perfect. And yet, I kill you in this locked room. She tried every theory and idea she could think of, even those so absurd they qualified as nonsense. However, none of it had any effect on Beato. Powerless and frustrated, with the book of the single truth right before her eyes, ANGE bit her lower lip. At first, this was supposed to be a game in which you were given a key that would let you decide your future. Liar. You wanted to hide the truth in this chapel, then make me choose a door that leads to some optimistic future. That's not a choice. You're trying to decide for me. Parents have the right to prevent their children from making unsuitable choices. I'm not a kid. I'm an 18-year-old woman who can think and act for herself. Ciao, Andrew. Fool. You're just a 6-year-old girl who can think of anything except the past. And whose fault is
あ
that?
んたのせいで
Because of you, I've been stuck in a 6 years old all this time.
真実を覆い隠す
Now
あん
it's
たの
time
幻
for
想
me
を
to tear apart your illusion covering the truth.
そうね
Yes, now that I think about it, it's not this chapel that you've locked me inside. Since that day, 1986, for all these years, you had me locked away in a locked room where I'm all alone and where no one will tell me the truth.
あんたの密室を
And now, I'll tear your locked room apart with my own hands. Yeah,
ダメね
it's no good.
全然ダメだわ
It's no good, not good at all.
分かったわ
I know the trick to your perfect locked room.
復唱要求
Repetition requested.
私を密室に閉じ込めてから直ちにあんたは私を殺害してい
You
る
murdered me immediately after shutting me into this locked room.
拒否する
I decline.
そうよ
Of course you do.
あんたは
You spend the next 18 years killing me.
ありがとうベアトリー
Thanks,
チェ
Beatrice.
それを思い出させ
If
て
you
くれ
hadn't
たおかげ
reminded
で
me, I wouldn't
あん
have
たが
figured
私
out
を
the
殺す
trick.
密室
エン
Angel,
ジそなたは未来
you
の
are
若
young.
者
You have a long future ahead of you.
そして
In fact,
未来に生きる
you are
黄
the
金の
golden
魔女
witch
で
living in the future, are you not?
ならば
Then live in
未
the
来に
future.
生きる過去の真実
Just
にどれ
how
ほどの
much is the
価値がある
truth of the past really worth?
そなたが自ら生み出す
Isn't the
そな
truth
たの
of the
未来の
future,
真実の
the
方が
truth that you will
よほ
create
ど価値が
yourself,
あるだろう
far more important?
私の人生なんてクズ
My
よ
life is
家
trash.
族は
My whole
私を
family
残して
died,
みんな死ん
leaving
だわ
just me behind.
だから
That's why I'm going back to them once I've gotten my
私
single
はみん
truth.
なのところに帰るの
真実を知れば
If you learn the
家
truth,
族の死を
you
受け
just
入れ
have
る
to
ことになる
accept.
だけだぞ
You'll just have to accept your family's
ひょっ
deaths.
としたら
Haven't you ever thought about leading on, hoping that by some miracle one of them might have survived, and that someday you might get a chance to see them again?
安心して
Don't
奇
worry.
跡の魔女です
Even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment like that. Almost none of the family's remains were recovered from the Great Rokkenjim explosion. Some days I hope that this might be a sign that they have escaped the explosion and survived, and that hope gave me the strength to live on. However, that hope wasn't strong enough to support me for 12 long years.
だから私は
Even though I
真
wanted
実
to
を知り
know
た
the
いと思
truth,
いながらも
I was unconsciously
無意識のうち
averting my
真
eyes.
実から目を背けていた家族の死を
I
はっ
felt
きり
that
と理解
learning
す
of
る
my
ことに
family's deaths for certain would force me to deny any possibility of someone miraculously surviving.
でもね
But I'm tired of living on and on with nothing but the impossible hope of a miracle
生
to
き延
keep
び
me
るのに
going.
飽き飽きしたのだから私は
That's why I decided to accept my family's deaths.
どのような真
I
実であろう
decided
と
to
も
accept the
認
truth,
めようと思った
and no matter what it is.
だから
That's why I became a witch of truth.
過去の真実に
How foolish. To be blinded by the truth of the past and unable to see one's own future.
許せ
Forgive me, Butler.
そなたの妹
I was not strong enough to guide your sister to a proper future. A blazing blue wedge appeared in Ange's hand. It was long, thick, and shaped like a spear.
これで終わりよ
This is the end, Witch of 1986.
この密室は完璧な密
This
室
locked room is
故
perfect.
に私は出られず
Therefore, I can't get out, and you can't lay a finger on me from the outside.
でも
However, you locked me into this
この密室に閉じ込
room,
めたわそれをもって
and there's just one
私
trick
を殺したと言
that,
える
and there's just
唯
one
一の
trick,
トリックがこれよ
and there's just one trick that makes the same as you killing. Ah, scusate. And there's just one trick that. A puttana. Allora. This locked room is perfect. Therefore, I can't get out, and you can't lay a finger on me from the outside. However, you locked me into this room, and there's just one trick that makes the same as you killing me.
あんたは私をこの
You
完
shut
全
me
な
in
密
this
室に閉
perfect
じ込め
locked
て
room and made me
罰させた
starve to death. Since you intentionally did this, there's no problem saying that this was a locked room murder with you as the killer. It looks like being overly vague with the cause of death backfired on you. So long, Witch of Illusions. See you in hell. Oh, questa è nuova. With the stained glass window behind her, Beato spread her arms and let the spear of the blue truth pierce her. The blue spear seemed to crucify Beato against the window. Game set. So, this is Aunt Eva's diary, the book of the single truth. ANGE picked up the book from where it lay on the altar, sealed in crystal. If you read that, then by your contract with Bercaster, you will die. Learning the truth just to die? Ridiculous. That's right. I'm looking for the truth so that I can die. At least let me choose how I go. I'm not an idiot. I know the real me is still floating in that starry sky. E questa cosa non lo sapevamo. Bercaster acknowledged me as the final Beatrice and invited me on a journey to learn the truth of 1986. There would be no coming back from that journey. When Bercaster told me that and walked off the roof into the black sky, I followed her into the empty air. That was the contract. I wanted two things from Bercaster. One was for someone from my family to come back. The other was revenge. To destroy the witch illusions concealing the events of that day. In other words, to reach the truth. However, the first of my wishes couldn't come true. After all, even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment where my family came home. So, she wordlessly questioned me. She told me that I couldn't reach the truth unless I had the courage to end this worthless life, living like a ghost and hoping someone might come back. So, she walked out into the open air and I followed her. Yes, now I understand. When I offered to trade away my life that day, I made one wish and gave up another. On another. I wished for revenge against the illusion that hid the truth. And now I had succeeded in that revenge, defeating the master of that illusion and obtaining the book of the single truth. When I gave up, what I gave up was my naivety, my continuing belief that someone from my family might come back. And now I can accept that my entire family is dead. How can you say someone's alive just because you don't know? This cat box of yours is just a naive illusion. The idea that hiding a corpse means you can pretend it might still be alive. But even if you hide a corpse, it's still dead. You really think you can heal my wounds by saying they'll always be watching over me from the clouds, like some kind of fairy tale? I am ANGE Beatrice, Witch of Truth. I'll free myself from that life as a ghost, waiting for a miracle that will never happen. I'll end my life as a noble martyr who would reach the truth. Didn't you come to understand the power of magic through Maria's grimoire? Yeah, I understood it. And then I despaired when I realized how powerless it was. And that's what Unichan is trying to force me to use now, isn't it? If I use magic, then my family will always be by my side. Don't take me for a fool. You think that kind of magic, that illusion, that daydream can heal those 12 years? And how am I supposed to go on for decades and decades into the future?
誰か帰ってきてよ誰か
Someone come back to me. Someone.
誰も帰ってこない
No one is coming back.
じゃあせめて
So at least tell me what
何
happened
があ
that
った
day.
のかだけでも教えてよそれは教え
Then
てくれるそう
Castle
よ
said she'll
ベルン
tell
カ
me.
ステルがはあ我が主よ今こそ一なる真実の書を手に入れました今からこれを持ち帰りますから私に真実をお与えください家族が生きているかもしれないという甘えた奇跡を捨て去る覚悟は私に今こそあの日の真実を教えて
Yes, my master. I have the book of the single truth. I'll bring it back to you, so let me have the truth. For a long time now, I've been prepared to abandon my naive hope in the miracle that my family might be alive. So now, tell me the truth of that day. A blinding light poured out of the chapel. It seeped from the windows and the cracks of the door, even reaching as far as Butler's and Erika's eyes.
なんだ
What?
どうやら
It would seem that Comrade ANGE has completed their task. It looks like you've used some useless seal, but to my master, you'll be easier than towing frozen sorry fish. Master said I could play with you until ANGE finished her task. I've had enough fun from this reunion, so I think it's time for me to leave. Erika gave the elegant curtsy.
なぜエンジェに
Why did
一
you
なる
talk
真実を
ANGE
そそ
into
のか
looking
せ
for the single
お
truth?
前の主なら知っ
Your
てるはずだ
master must
エ
know.
ンジェには
The truth doesn't mean anything for ANGE. Yes, all truths in this world are meaningless. In the end, meaning comes from the mind of each individual human. Even when there is a single truth, it can mean different things to different people. The truth has no meaning in itself. There's just one reason why I insist upon the truth despite it all.
探偵だから
Because you're a detective. Good. But ANGE-san isn't a detective. To her, the truth itself is the finish line, a way to mark the end of her unhappy life. Now, she's finally finished the last purification ceremony. She's a one-night witch of truth, focused on learning just one truth in order to die. A temporary witch for the short time until she slams against the ground. She slams against the ground.
エンジェを死なせはしな
I
い
won't let ANGE
どんな
die.
に辛くても生き
No
てく
matter
れ
how tough it gets, she has to live.
それだけが
That's the one
俺た
thing
ちの
all
願
of
い
us
なのだが
want.
生きていれば
If she lives, all sorts of magic and miracles will be
どんな奇
possible.
跡だって起こり得るんだ
If only you'd put your arms around her shoulder and told her that directly, you might not have lost. Your thoughts? All it takes is to hear you howl, and an reduction like this becomes trivial for Furudo Erika.
生きろエンジェ
He yelled towards the chapel, but ANGE probably wasn't even there anymore. Butler's yell was swallowed by the empty pitch-black sky and the sea of the rampaging goats. Comrade Erika, our mission is complete. Let's withdraw. Oh, are we done already?
今度は私自らが
Ho detto Erika?
エヴァ犯
Oddio,
人説
scusa.
で島中をめちゃくちゃにしてやろうと思ってたのに
No, no, adesso lo devo risentire. Devo dirlo giusto. E devo risentire Erika. Comrade Eva, our mission is complete. Let's withdraw. Oh, are we done already?
今度は私
I was just about to tear the island apart with my own Eva culprit theory.
と思ってたのに
Eva appeared in midair and cackled.
ごめんねバトラー君
Sorry, Butler-kun. I wasn't strong enough.
私は私のやり
For
方で
12 years, I protected that kid in my
あ
own
の子を
way.
守ったわ
感謝する
I'm grateful.
でももう
However, she's decided this for herself.
もうあの子も
She's
18
18 years old now.
自分の人生
Don't you think people should decide how they live their own lives?
悪いな
Sorry
妹煩悩だ
for being an overprotective big brother.
じゃあね
Later.
私は今は
I'm
ベル
led
ン
in
ダステル島の
Bercastle's
駒
peace at the moment.
これで失礼
It's
する
time
わ
for me to leave.
どうしよう
I'll see you later, Comrade Eva. Eva held her palm open and a small pointy blue fragment appeared there. That fragment burst and with a blinding flash of light, Eva vanished. It was the same light that had seeped out of the chapel earlier. Pieces cannot leave the game board. However, the Voyager witches alone could come and go. This was probably some sort of magic that Bencastle had given them. Erika opened her palm as well, and the same sort of fragment appeared there.
それでは
Well then, I bid you
下
farewell.
手をした
In fact, this might be the last time we see each other.
間違い
Wait.
俺たちの決着
We haven't settled our fight yet. If he could steal the fragment in Erika's hand, he would be able to go where Bencastle was. The seal surrounding the Book of the Single Truth would probably be broken easily with Bencastle's power. However, even so, it would take her some time. If he could steal that fragment, he would have a chance at bringing ANGE back.
決着も何も
What is there to settle? Time's up.
ですが
However, if you feel like taking one last hit, I'd be happy to oblige. He had known that Erika couldn't resist the challenge. After all, Butler already knew what Erika's tricks was. He'd figured it out just a second ago. Even while he spoke with Erika, he had been thinking about it inside his mind. He could finish her with this last strike and take the fragment. Let's go, Erika.
この一撃で決めてやる
This will decide it.
その一撃で追い飛ば
This
し
will be the
ます
last one before I
自
go.
慢のとんでも
So
ない
go ahead and give me the craziest of your hilarious series.
お前の3つ定義は壁、窓、
Your
床、
locked
天
room
井
definition
チェーン
claimed that the walls, windows, floor, ceiling, and the chain were all unbeatable.
しかし1点だけ
However, there was one possibility that I didn't check before it was too ridiculous. Because it was too ridiculous.
それはチェーンを外部から
And
開
that
閉
was
すること
whether or
の
not the
開始だ
chain could be set from the outside.
青き真実
Blue truth.
これがお前の
This is
3つ
the
の
answer
答
to
え
your
だ
locked room.
チェーンの長さ
The length of the chain.
お前の3つのチェーンは
The
長く
chain for your locked room was extra long, so it was possible to set and unset it from outside the room. What a ridiculous answer. However, if you blindly assume that a lock made by an unbreakable chain makes a locked room unbeatable, then this truly was the perfect locked room. The blue wedge flung from Butler's hand plunged straight into Erika's chest. As he winced in pain, her hand shook, and the fragment she held flew into the air.
バトラさんの密室定義は
Your locked room definition claimed that the walls, windows, floor, door, and chain
あ
were
らゆる
all
絶対性を
unbeatable.
主張しましたしかし一つ
However, wasn't there one really ridiculous thing missing?
青き真
Blue
実
truth.
バトラさんの密室には天井が
Your
なく
locked room had no ceiling, so it was possible to enter by climbing over the wall. Erika's blue sides swung out from behind her back, catching Butler in the side as it stretched his hand out towards the fragment. Butler's hand didn't reach it. The fragment returned to Erika's hands once more.
トリックのバカバカしさ
It
は
looks like our tricks were equally
ミ
ridiculous.
ステリーマニ
The
ア
mystery nuts would have been furious, don't you think?
しかし私は
But I
違う
disagree. To me, the process of exposing that ridiculousness is ecstasy. That's why I'm Furudo Erika, the detective. Damn it. You figured out the answer a while back, didn't you? Not true. I thought it up in the same instant between the time you let loose your blue truth and the time you stretch your hand out to grab the fragment. I've just been buying time since the beginning. I only started reasoning a second ago. Erika broke the crystal barrier that surrounded them. Then she flew high up into the sky, looking down on Butler and laughing at him as he gave a final bow. Good day, Butler-san. Even if this has been my only time to shine. Even if I've outlived my usefulness and I'm about to be thrown back into the depths of oblivion. Even so, I have no regrets. Wait! No one would be foolish enough to wait on command. With a blinding flash, Erika vanished. ANGE had gotten the book of the single truth and returned to Bencastle. Butlers and the other had no way to leave the game board. Everything had come to an end. A gold butterfly flitted by and Beato appeared. My apologies, Butler. I let ANGE get away. I'm sorry too. I let them get away. It's all over. Butler had created this game for ANGE. Now that ANGE was gone, the game board no longer had any purpose. And even if that weren't the case, even now the game board was being chewed apart by the goats, like a single leaf floating on the sea of nothingness. Thanks to Gertrude and Cornelia's seals, the mansion was protected from the second floor up. The door to the Golden Land was now open wide enough for a child to slip through. The smaller people, including Maria and Sakutaro, slipped through it. My friend, I believe the door is open at a quicker pace. Indeed. To my eyes as well, it seems to be so. Father, is the door open yet? It looks like they're about to break in through the windows. Kraus-sama, there is no need for you to fear. An eiserne Jungfrau barrier is not so easily broken. Very soon you'll be big enough for the adults to go through too. Don't worry, we'll make it in time. But there's knocking and banging everywhere and... Stay calm and wait. After all, there is nothing for us to do but wait. Even the outer walls of the mansion were covered with goats, and they were plunging their fangs and fists into the walls and windows, trying to break through them. So there were ghosts stuck to all the windows in the hallway, smashing their thick arms against the windows in a way that would terrify anyone, even if they knew about the barrier. However, anyone watching the group of goats gather at the top of the big staircase from the safety of the other side of the barrier would probably feel a different emotion. Instead of terror, it was a sad, empty sort of emotion. The barrier was drawn across the landing at the top of the hall's great staircase. Beyond that barrier, everything had already been eaten away. Was it even possible for those who stood in the hallway on the upper floors to believe that this was the Rokkenjima mansion? By now, no one looking at this scene would be able to imagine such a thing. forget the hall or even the whole first floor. Even the ground itself was almost gone. The sea of ghosts had eaten everything apart long before this. They had eaten apart the hall, the pillars of the mansion, the floor, the ground, the sea, the very concept of the island, every part of the game board Butler had created. And now the only leftover was the upper part of the mansion, which floated along in an empty space. How pitiful.
何がなりや。
To what do you refer?
この島を食い
The
尽く
goats,
す
in their
という
eagerness to
快
chew
楽
this
の
island
やり
apart,
たちが虚無に
have
落ち
eaten up even the ground they stood on, dropping themselves into nothingness. This had once been a huge entrance hall. Beyond it had been the vast rose garden. There had been so many places to stand upon. Even now, holes had been dug everywhere, and nearly everything outside the mansion was completely gone. Some goats were clutching to the few remaining footholds and pillars, still eating away at them.
真実を
It
暴く
should
と
be known that to expose the truth is to kill.
人は
Why can't
なぜ
humans
殺
live
さず
without
には
killing,
生
I
きられない
wonder?
のです。遠大なる歴史の中
Throughout their long
あれだけの
history,
大勢が奇
so
跡を願い
many
ながら
have prayed for
結
miracles,
局は
but in the
奇跡
end
の
they
命を
eat up
自
their
ら
own
食い尽くし
chances at
自
receiving
ら
a
の足
miracle,
場さえ食い破
eating
って
up the very
奈
ground
落
they
へ落ち
stand
て
on and fall into the abyss. They saw a goat chewing the same pillar that was holding it up, which, unsurprisingly, fell into the empty blackness along with the goat.
人間は
Humans
知る
are
ために生きるよう
sad
に定められ
creatures,
た
fated to live in order to
悲しい
learn.
生き物だからです。知ることが
If learning means
自分の生きる
eating away
夢や
at the
希
same
望を
hopes
自
and
ら食い
dreams
尽く
that
す
you
ことを
keep
意味する
that
なら
keep you alive,
人間は
that would mean
死ぬため
humans
に
are
生まれてきた
born
ってことになる。
just so they can die.
私たちは
We're
生き
taught
ろと
that
教
we
えられま
have
す。
to live.
しかし
However, 生
き
almost
てなす
everything
こと
that
の
we
ほぼ全て
accomplish in life ends up
結局は自
killing
分を
us.
殺している。
それ以上考え
Don't
る
think about
頭
it.
痛になら
You'll just get an headache.
私は
As a single
人間
human,
として問いたい。
I want to ask,
知ることは罪な
is
のですか。
learning a
無
crime?
知に生きる方が
Is
夢や
is
希望
living
がある
in
と。
ignorance the only way we have that we can have hopes and dreams?
全地に生きることも
Both living and knowledge and living in
どちらにも利点があるし
both living with
感謝
knowledge and living in ignorance have their benefits as well as their
そのど
shortcomings.
ちらに生きるのも自
You're
由
even free to choose which path you take.
だから
That's
人
what
間ってのは
that's what
無力なんだ。
makes humans powerless.
人は知ることはできても知らぬことはできない生き物なり。
While people can learn, they cannot unlearn.
故に全
And
地の
so,
神
the all-knowing
それが
God
できぬ
had
人間に代わ
stepped
り
in for the sake of humans who cannot know it all,
知るべきことと
marking out
知
the
らぬべ
things
き
that
こと
should be
を分け
learned
隔てている
and
も
the
のな
things that should not be learned.
過ぎた好奇心は
Too much
夢も希望も
curiosity can kill your hopes and dreams.
人は知るべきでない
Humans
こと
are
を知らぬ
pitiable
ままに忌
beings
避
who are
できぬ
unable
哀
to
れな
simply
存在
avoid
で
those
す
things which should not be learned.
バトラ教が
Lord
それを
Butler
エンジ
may
に
have
伝えきれ
failed
な
to
かった
teach
として
this
も
to Enge,
無理もな
but
い
he
こ
can
と
hardly be
です
blamed.
そのエンジェももう
And now Enge's gone.
このゲームも
This game is
もう
over.
おしまいだな
Struck dumb by Will's words, everyone felt silent. Only the sound of the ghosts eating everything away rang out hollowly. Even if they escaped to the Golden Land, these ghosts of emptiness would probably chew that realm eventually as well. Even if they got away for the time being, nothing would be resolved. It was all set in stone now. They had no way to resist the future's violent attempts to tear the cat box of the past open.
なら
In that case,
私たち
we
は
must
生きなけ
stay
れば
alive.
人間の愚かさが
If a human foolishness make them throw away their own hopes and dreams in the end,
私は
Then I want to believe in those things until the last second.
いい根性だ
Your resolve is impressive.
私は幾百
I'm
万の
the
世界のベア
embodiment
トリ
of
ーチ
the
ェたち
one hope
唯一
held
の
by
希望が具現化
Beatrices
した存在
of million
だ
worlds.
から私はこ
So,
んな時でも
even at a time like
みん
this,
なの希望で
I
なければいけな
have
い
to
ん
be
です
everyone's hope.
だから私はまだこ
I'm
のゲ
not
ー
giving
ム
up on
諦め
this
ませ
game
ん
yet.
諦めない
You're not giving up?
最後の1秒まで
I'll keep
奇跡を信じて
waiting,
待つということです
believing in a miracle until the last second.
最後の1秒まで
So you'll keep struggling on and on until it's all over?
そうです
That's right.
私たちの時だって
After all, last time when we were surrounded by that pack of
死を
terrifying
覚悟した
cats,
ではありませ
we
んか
were prepared for death, weren't we?
ラムダデルタさん
Lambda
が助
Delta
けてくれ
Sun
ました
saved us.
もし
If
奇跡
we
を
had
信じず
given
に
up,
諦めていたら
if we hadn't had the strength to believe in a miracle, then I'm sure we'd have been erased before help could come. Questo è vero. Se vi foste arresi anche un
私が
secondo
助
prima.
けたってよりベルンがあんたたちを殺し損ねたって感じね
Well, it's not like I really saved you. More like Ben just failed to kill you
あるい
properly.
はあの子の気まぐれかも
Or
し
it
れない
might have been some whim of
奇
hers.
跡の魔女の
It's
奇跡的な
a
気まぐれって
miraculous
わけ
whim
ね
from the Witch of Miracles. How long has she been there? Lambda Delta was leaning on the handrail of the staircase, eating popcorn. She held a cup of popcorn as if to say, want some? But Leon declined the offer.
バトラ君たちが言ってました
Butler-kun told us. He said Ange-chan made a contract to learn the truth in exchange for her own life.
さっきのあんたたちの話
Going by
によ
your
れば
conversation just now, that was no contract.
だって
After all, living and seeking the truth so they can die is what humans do anyway, right?
つまりエンジ
In
は
other words, Ange spent all of her life trying to learn the truth.
それを一瞬の
And
時間
Ben
に
did,
ベル
or
ンが
all
凝
that
縮した
Ben
だけ
did
のことだ
was
わ
shortened that time to a single instant.
エンジちゃんは
When Ange-chan lost her hopes and dreams,
自らの
she
命を
stopped
軽んじてしま
valuing
っ
her own life.
た彼女に
How can she be given hopes and dreams again?
どうやったら
What can be done to help her find a reason for living?
それ
Are you
私
asking
に聞い
me?
てんの私
I'm stupid, remember?
それも
I'm
理解
super
できる範囲
airheaded
超
super paper with a brain of confetti.
難しい話
I
さ
don't
れてもわかん
understand
ないわ
complicated stuff. After tossing that last bit of popcorn into her mouth, Lambda Delta threw the empty cup into the abyss of nothingness.
ベルンがあの子をそそのか
Ben
したわ
wasn't
けじゃ
really
ない
pushing
わ
that kid to do something that she didn't
ベ
want.
ルンはエンジェに
She
チャン
was
スを
giving
与え
Angie a
た
chance. Or should I
選択
call
肢
it
を与えたと
a
いうべ
choice?
きそしてエンジェは
Then Angie made the choice she wanted, appeared on the game board, and now, in her game against Butler, she's making her own choices
自
again.
ら選択肢を選んでるあの子のゲームは
From start to
最
finish,
初から
Angie's
最後
game
まで
has
ずっと
always belonged
あの
to
子のも
Angie.
のよ私は今
Right now,
それをの
I'm
んびりと
just a
感激してい
casual
るわ
observer.
感激に熱中
It
している
indeed doesn't exactly look like you're glued to the action. Indeed non c'è. It doesn't exactly look like you're glued to the action.
まあね
Maybe not.
先の見えちゃったお芝
I'll
居だ
play
し
with an obvious ending. Scusate. It's a play with an obvious ending.
だから
I
そろ
was
そろ
thinking I
どう
might
しよう
sneak
かなって
out in a
思ってた
moment.
ところよ
先が見えたと感じた
So
ら
you'd stop watching a play just because you think you know how it will end?
ひょっとしたら
Even though it
あ
might
なたが
reach a
想像しない
climax
よ
you
うなクライ
didn't
マックスを
expect.
迎えるかもしれないのに
Lambda Delta licked her salty fingers. Then she stared at Leon challengingly and grinned.
エンジェちゃんのゲ
I
ーム
know that Ange's game
絶対
won't
にこれ
end
で終
this
わり
way.
ません必ず
I know Butler-kun's feelings will reach her.
彼女に
She'll understand that he wants her to live in a better future, and she'll choose that future of her own accord.
必ず
I'm certain that's how this
そうい
tale
う
will
物語
end.
になります
へえ
Huh?
この絶
Are
対
you
の魔女
talking
ラ
to
ムダデ
me,
ル
the
タ
Witch of Certainty, and saying that the outcome is certain?
そうです
That's right.
私が
I guarantee
絶
it.
対に保証しますエンジェちゃんのゲーム
Ange's game won't end like
だ
this.
から
So please don't leave your seat.
そして
We won't leave
私
either.
たちも立ちません。私たちにでき
There
ること
must be something we
は
can
必ず
do.
あります。そしてそれが必
And
ず
that will surely
彼
lead
女
to
の
a
より良き
better
未来に
future.
誘うこの物語は
This tale will
必
definitely
ず
have
ハッ
a
ピーエンド
happy
になります
ending.
だから
So keep
最後ま
watching
で見
until
届
the
けてくだ
end.
さい。お願いします。
I beg you.
私
Even though I, the Witch of Certainty,
この物
have
語
already
にハッ
announced
ピ
that
ーエ
this
ンド
tale
は
won't have a
ない
happy
って宣
ending,
言しちゃってるんだけど
ハッピーエンドの定義
who
なんて
gets to decide what
見
makes
る
a
人
happy
それぞれが
ending?
決めることでしょ。
For a while there was a tense silence, with a confident gaze that seemed to be saying, "Are you serious?" Lambda Delta stared at Leon. However, Leon's eyes didn't even twitch. For some time they both stared into each other's eyes without flinching. Suddenly, Lambda Delta let out a large sigh and
行
stretched.
くあてもないし
Well, I have nowhere better to be. Sure, I'll stick around a bit
ポ
longer.
ップコーンのおかわり
If you
くれ
get
たら
me
ね
some popcorn, that is.
今度はキャラメルフレーバー
I'm
の
feeling like caramel flavor this time.
黄金鏡へ来てくれれば
If you come to the Golden Land, we'll serve you as much as you like. Lambda Delta waved at them with a thin smile. No one was quite sure what this meant, but it apparently signified their surrender in her own way. Okay, if you'll guarantee your own flavor of happy ending with
こ
certainty,
の大ラムダ
then
デルタ
I, the great Lambda Delta, will stick around for a while longer.
本当
See,
に私って
see
心が
how
広いわよ
big
ね
my heart is.
まるで琵琶湖のように
As wide as Lake Biwa.
微妙に狭いな
That's not very wide.
そして日本
And
海
as
のように
gentle
穏や
as
か
the
ね
Sea of Japan.
すごい荒波
That
で
is
す
a very rough sea.
近景
For your
おそら
attention.
く例えが逆かと思われ
It
るも
would
のな
seem that you have mixed up your metaphors. There was some muffled laughter. Lambda Delta is the witch who gives strength to those who possess unshakable willpower. She might have given Leon a bit of magic for that absolute belief in a happy ending. Leon MVP.
私を
You
退屈
better not let me
させ
get
るんじゃないわ
bored,
よ
okay?
じゃなきゃ
If you
いつ
do,
だって
I'll leave
小
right
説にな
away.
っちゃうんだからね
もちろんです。
Of course.
バトラ君
I'm
の歓迎
sure
する
Butler Kun will be glad to welcome you as well. Leon understood. In order to fight back against Bencastle, who had taken ENGE outside the board, they would need the power of another who was capable of leaving the board. Their last hope was to make sure Lambda Delta didn't abandon this game. However, judging by Lambda Delta's expression as she hummed to herself cheerily, actually asking her for help was probably going to be a problem.
見てゼパル
Look,
すごい
Tepper!
わ
Everything from the first floor down is gone!
これは
What
絶
a
景だね
spectacle!
なかなかお
What
目
a
にかかれない
sight
景
you
色
see every
だよ
day!
上の様子はどうです
How
か
have matters progressed upstairs?
そうそう
Ah,
それを
right.
知らせ
We
に来た
came here to tell you that.
いやあみんな
Hi
お
everyone,
待たせ
sorry
した
to
ね
keep you waiting.
黄金鏡
They say the door to the Golden Land is opened.
やれやれ
Finally,
参りましょう
let us
こ
go.
こは
This place might not be safe for long. Everyone who had been sitting on the staircase got up.
さらば
I guess this is goodbye. Rokenjima the Beautiful.
そうですね。
True.
こんな光景でさ
It may be a shadow of its
これ
former
は見納
self,
めなの
but
ですね。
this is the last time we'll see it, isn't it?
何
What could you possibly do with an attitude like that?
見せなさいよ
Isn't there something you've got to show me?
ハッピーエンド
Let's see a happy ending. Hola. The Book of Truth. The Book of the Single Truth, sealed in crystal by Butler. Until I undo this seal, I can't even stick the key into the keyhole.
あんたには解けるのよね。
You can remove it, right?
その封印。
The seal.
もちろん。
Of course. They were in a vast, dimly lit space. To sum it up in a phrase, it was like a trench in the ocean floor. No, that's not quite right. It was a library. However, the number of books and the heights of the shelves vastly surpass all of those that existed in the world of humans. The height, if height is a measure of greatness, then the gods must surely have been giants taller than mountains. This place appeared to be a library big enough and grand enough for such gods. Each individual book was no larger than those from the human world. However, the shelves holding them stood like the walls of a valley or a deep sea ocean trench. So ENGE and the others looked like little more than a few small butterflies who had wandered in this vast library. Like minuscule deep sea fish swimming about all alone in an ocean pit.
これは封印じゃなくて
This is more like ice than a seal. If you just steal it away from Butler and put it under the rays of the sun, it will fade away by itself as time passes.
手っ取り早く
Isn't there a way to just smash it open?
あんたは冷凍サンマを
Do you thaw your frozen fish by smashing it with a hammer?
ごめんね
I'm sorry, I was always terrible in cooking class.
子猫たち
Kittens? Volevo dire kittens, però c'è scritto kitties e quindi ho fatto un via di mezzo. Kitties?
この封印の
Thaw
回
this
答
seal. Adesso arrivano e fanno... When Bencastle whispered from the dark ocean pit below them, several emerald green glints appeared and gathered like a school of fish. Bencastle threw the book of the single truth down to them, and only after several seconds passed, the school of fish seemed to gather around it and carry it away. Those few seconds made it clear just how deep the bookshelf trench went. ENGE was once again dumbfounded by this unimaginably vast and godly library.
あとはあの子たちに
You
任せ
can
てお
just
けば
let
いい
them handle the rest.
本当に
And you really will
私
let
に
me
中を
see
読ま
what's
せてくれるん
inside?
でしょうね
あなたが望むな
If
ら
that is your wish,
それは
I'll grant it.
そして私
And
だ
of course, I won't be able to read it myself without that
読
key
む
of
ことが
yours.
叶わない
ENGE silently gripped the golden key in her pocket. This journey had been so long and so strange. In search of the truth from 12 years ago, I left my home, met President Okonogi, met Amakusa, and at some point that adventure became part of a witch illusion. However, here I am. Shiromi Eva's diary is here. The truth written inside it is sitting right before me.
しばらく休みなさい
Rest for a while. Even I don't have enough free time to spend it all with you.
別に
Well, I'm not really tired though.
エリカ
Erika?
エンジェにお茶でもご
Serve
馳走
ENGE
しな
some
さい
tea or something. Yes, Waga Arji! Erika popped into existence out of nowhere and bowed to her
ベ
master.
ルンカステル
Van
も
Castle,
しあんたが
if by any chance you're planning to use me to steal both the book and the key, you won't get off easy. How dare you say such things to my master?
ごめんなさいね
Sorry, after my long experience with witches, I've decided not to trust normal words.
いいわ
Very well, I'll promise it with the red truth.
一なる真
When the
実の
seal of the book of the single truth is dissolved, you, ENGE, will be the first to read it.
これでいい
Is that good enough for you? For some time, ENGE considered the witch's words, searching for some sort of trap hidden within them. There was no greater guarantee than a red truth given by a witch. ENGE understood this well enough. If one did start to doubt even this red truth, there would be nothing left to trust in this entire world. If one began to suspect even this, then even the truth would no longer be truth.
まだ不
Are
満
you
な
still unsatisfied about something?
何も
No, I'm fine. She would need Berncastle's help if she wanted to read the book of the single truth. Ange finally realized that she had nothing to gain by complaining more and annoying this witch further.
封印が解けたらすぐに呼んでちょうだい。
Once you've broken the seal, call me right away.
もちろんよ。
Of course.
私だって早
I
く読みたい
also
もの。
want to read it as soon as
す
possible.
ぐに呼ぶわ。
I'll call for you at once. Ben spun away from them, then vanished into the dark bookshelf trench. Ange saw a school of emerald green fish appeared and followed behind Berncastle. Could those be her familiars? As she stared at the emerald lights that resembled some sort of deep fish, Ange was poked from behind.
行きますよ。
Let's
同
go,
志エンジェ。
Comrade Ange.
気持ち悪いから
You're creeping me
Ange
out.
で
Just
お願い。
please just call me Ange.
じゃあ私
Then
の
you
こと
can
は
call me
エリカ
Erika-sama.
様でお願いします。
行きましょう同志エリカ。
Let's get going, Comrade Erika. The pair began to swim in the direction Erika indicated. Swim seemed a better way to describe what they were doing than fly would. Aspetta. Swim seemed to be... swim seemed to be... Madonna di quella brava donna. Swim seemed a better way to describe what they were doing than fly would have.
ここは何なの？
Just what is this
図
place?
書館って呼ぶには
It's way too big to be called a library.
どうせ覚えられま
It's
せん
not
から
like you'll be able to remember its name, so why not just call it the library?
覚えるかどうかは
I'll
私が決め
decide
るわ。
what I can remember or can't remember. Tell me,
尊厳なる感激と
is the great witch of
記憶
theater
が冒
going
険されし
drama
名
and
誉ある図書の
spectating
中
noble city of carefully selected books?
やっぱ
Yeah,
図書館
the library works fine.
言うと思いました
Knew you'd say that. The City of Books. Yeah, the name fits. The bookshelves on either side of these canyons are skyscrapers. I think of those emerald green lights following beneath us as headlights on a highway. Then this really does seem like a city of books.
ただの本じゃないんでしょ？
These things aren't just books, are they?
ええ
That's right.
これら一冊
Each
一冊が
volume is
重
packed
厚な群衆
with
劇を
an
まとめて
ensemble play.
ここでは本に見
They
えます
look
が
like books from here, but if you open one up, you'll find a whole world inside.
私たちの長い物語
So even our long
こ
tale
の
is
中の
only
一
one of
冊でしかない
these.
の。
遥か上層の
Great
霞
witches
の
who
未来
live
の上層の大魔
on
女は
a
もは
far...
や神や動物種と同じ存在です
Great witches who live on a far, far higher plane than we do are hardly any different from a god or creator.
そんな連中から見
From
れ
their
ば
perspective,
私たちの物語
our little tale is worth little more than a
一
single
冊
book,
にまとめ
if
る価
that.
値があるかどうか
From the theater goer's perspective, our individual lives are hardly worth anything at all. If they are writing down an entire world in a single volume, then my life probably isn't even worth a single line.
でも
But
私たちは
you're
主
the
人公
main
だ。
characters.
私も
I am, and so are you.
そうです
That's right.
神々の物語
Even
に
if the
記され
tale
ることがな
of
く
the
ても
gods doesn't mention us,
私たちが
we
記
are
す自らの
always the
物語
main
の主人
characters
公
in the story we
つまり
write for
人間なんです
ourselves.
それを自覚できること
Becoming
が
aware of that fact is the first thing that separates
最初の
witches from humans. 'Un sacco di nuovi sfondi comunque, eh? Vabbè che adesso siamo arrivati nel nuovo posto, no? La City of Books e tutto il resto. Però un sacco di sfondi per la City of Books. Io tipo questo non me lo ricordavo. Mi ricordavo gli altri ma non questo. Comunque, che figata. Cioè adesso siamo nella città dei libri di Fezarin, ok? del carefully selected, e sono miliardi, non so quanti sono probabilmente veramente milioni di libri, e ogni libro è un mondo come Umineko. Sì, questo era uno degli ultimi, sì, che non volevo mostrarvi. Quindi, insomma, dobbiamo capire un po'. Fezarin sembra veramente così sopra ogni cosa in questo momento. Capite perché è uscita fuori anche da Umineko nella sua popolarità per essere uno dei personaggi più forti di tutta la finzione di From All Fiction, ecco. No, sono là le mie ciabatte, non le trovavo. Va bene. Comunque. They were on a balcony, which was really a room-sized section that had been dug out of the bookshelf with no guardrail along the cliff. It didn't go in very deep, making it look like a room that had been cut in half. It was filled with the tools of everyday life, as though this was Erika's hidden house. My master has ordered me to serve you some tea. So if you don't like drinking, I'll have to pour it into you with a funnel. If you try, I'll have to serve you some matcha. Matcha? Nothing, just talking to myself. Ignoring Erika as she made tea, Ange looked down upon the bizarre, otherworldly scene below. Until Erika finished getting the tea ready, the scene held Ange's gaze like it was sucking out her soul. This might sound strange coming from me. What? You made a deal to throw away your life to learn the truth. That's quite something. I had nothing to gain from life. It was easy for me to trade away the time I had left. My master really does take to idle whims. To think she would make a contract for the meaningless life of a powerless girl. Ange chuckled, not bothering to argue. That was exactly right. How incredible that Ben Castle would lend her power to a worthless life like that. Scusate. How incredible that Ben Castle would lend her power to a worthless life that was trying to throw itself away. Well, my master is the witch who controls miracles, so it makes sense that she'd appear even for a worthless girl like you. Good point. Even if Ben Castle hadn't appeared, I would have still taken that step off that edge that day. You really are a cheap woman, aren't you? Well then, just how much are you worth? Me? The way Erika cackled was disturbing. Still, Ange realized that this was her way of answering the question. People don't become witches of their own choosing. If they're capable of living, all people want to live their lives as humans. When something comes along to trip up that life, that's when the road to living as a witch opens. Even Furudo Erika, who calls herself the Witch of Truth, must be like this. The two witches of truth, sitting here, drinking tea without even looking at each other, are exactly the same. I like exposing the truth. I know that. I like exposing secrets, then watching those people turn pale as they wonder how I figure it out. That's when I know I've reached the truth, and it's a moment of ecstasy. There's something seriously wrong with you. Well then, what does the truth mean to you? Oh. Ange was about to give an immediate answer, but then she beat down her words. And once she did, not knowing the right way to respond, no further words came. After all, to ANGE, the truth itself was the goal. At first, it was out of hatred. Could Ushiromi Eva, the sole survivor of Rokkenjima, be the culprit behind everything? She hated Eva, but she had no proof that their aunt was the culprit. And of course, Eva never talked about what happened on that island. So at first, in ANGE's eyes, the truth meant proof that Eva was the culprit. However, that feeling withered away with Eva's death. Now that Eva was dead, even if ANGE did find some kind of proof, it wouldn't mean anything. So eventually, the truth ANGE wanted to find became nothing more than a simple desire to know what happened on that island that day. However, one thing was obvious. Even if she did find out the truth, that wouldn't bring any of her family back to her. It might not mean anything at all. You're going to expose the truth your beloved Onichan is hiding, even though it's meaningless? You're the one that's not making sense. Erika laughed mockingly. ANGE laughed too, as though she agreed. And so, truth to me became my goal. Maybe you could even call it my reason for living. So once you reach the truth, there won't be any point or purpose to you living anymore, right? That's right. So I'll die. Hasn't it been long enough? I've already lived 12 years too long. Don't I at least deserve to have a witch appear and grant my wish in my final moments? To put it simply, you're just tired with life. Doesn't that sum it up? Yeah. So my reason for living, my very existence and everything else is meaningless. That's why this goal of finding the book of the single truth has put a little spark back into my life, now that it's nearly over. At least on that score, I'm grateful to Ben Castle. I see. Butler wants you to live, so he hid the goal that would let you die. I think I pity Butler's son for the first time. After all, you can't choose your little... Non ho capito, scusami. I see, Butler wants you to live, so he hid the goal that will let you die. I think I pity Butler's son for the first time. After all, you can't choose your little sister. Ah, ok, adesso ho capito. I'm sorry, Onichan. I'm tired of life. 12 whole years. I've been living off nothing but the illusion that something might come home someday. Someone or something. Just let me find peace already. Finding the truth of that day, I have decided I'd use that to mark the end of my life. For 12 years I believed in a miracle, but there was no miracle. I won't believe in miracles anymore. The book of the single truth. Of course, I'm also dying to find out what's in it. But from what I hear, it doesn't sound like the truth inside it is something spectacular enough to mark your life with. La Madonna. Adesso torno indietro di nuovo. Lo faccio. È la prima volta che lo devo fare 2 volte. Scusate, sono stanco. The book of the single truth. Of course, I'm also dying to find out what's in it. But from what I hear, it doesn't sound like the truth inside it is something spectacular enough to mark the end of your life with. Yeah. At first I hoped there would be something earth-shattering written in it. But now I guess I've cooled on it. Any truth searched by a worthless person is bound to be worthless. It'll probably make for a fitting end to your worthless life. Yeah, I'm sure it will. ANGE was already starting to realize something. Regardless of why Eva decided not to talk about what happened, the real events of that day probably weren't anything earth-shattering. Some sort of malfunction made the bomb in that secret underground base explode. Yes, it was just an accident. But the public believed and hoped that some sort of plot surrounded the events of that day. Eva was a suspect herself, so she could claim that nothing strange had happened until she was blue in the face and no one would believe her. Of course, this included ANGE. In that case, shutting up like a clam would just make things easier. It was hardly surprising that Eva chose to say nothing.
今は
Right now, I don't feel any sense of accomplishment.
よくわからない
I just feel some sort of worn out. I just feel sort of worn out and listless.
真実の魔女は
Being able to bear the truth is just what makes a witch of truth.
同志エンジェ
Comrade ANGE.
あんたにはどう
It
いう
looks like you don't possess a strength after all.
あったなら
If you did, you wouldn't be thinking about dying.
そうね
You're right.
私は
For 12 years, I've clung on to the hope that someone might come back.
私が
I've just used Beatrice's cat box to shut away the truth, denying it for 12 years.
一なる真実の書
When you read the book of the single truth,
あんたはどう
I wonder what will happen to you.
さあ
Who
契
knows?
約に従い
Won't Bencastel carry out the contract by slicing my head off with a scythe or something?
あるいは
Or will I be turned into chunks of meat again?
今度こそ塩と胡
Maybe
椒
I'll
を
get some
練り込ま
salt
れる
and
のよ
pepper this time.
なるほど
I see.
だから
So
引き
that's
抜
where
か
the
なかった
chunks of meat thing came from.
何か言った
Did you say
い
something?
いえ何も
No, nothing at all.
それより
Anyway, would you like some more tea?
ノーサンキュー
No, thank you. ANGE listlessly gazed down from the balcony with no handrail, down into the darkness of the abyss at the bottom of the bookshelf ravine. No, the gap between the bookshelf skyscrapers. From the beginning until the end of my journey, I haven't taken a single step away from this spot. This journey of mine, not even a single step long, will end soon. What are those lines of light floating around at the bottom?
あ
Ah, those?
あ大アウローラ卿のパーティ
Probably a
ー
group
の
of guests
客人たち
coming to
の
the
行列
great
でしょ
Lady Aurora's party.
客人
Guests?
元老院の大魔女
Great
たちは
witches from the Senate.
退屈から逃れ
Voyager
永遠の
witches who are
形を
trying to
謳歌し
escape boredoms in their endless travels.
数百年の眠りより目覚めた偉大
Powerful
なる
witches
大
who
魔
have
女たち
woken from century-long sleeps, as well as witches who control the future world and noble witch hunters.
今夜は大きな
It
パーティ
seems
ー
she's
が催され
planning
る
to
よう
hold
で
a grand party tonight.
お誕生パーティーでもするの
It's a birthday party or something?
無限の魔女
From what I've heard, while the great Lady Beatrice, the Endless Witch, may be an outsider among witches, she's also the genius whose formidable magical system of magic resulted in the creation of the Beatrice's cat box, the endless factory capable of producing endless tales.
私からすれば
From my point of view, she's just stupid and a weak finisher, but in the world of great witches, she's apparently pretty famous.
ベアトリーチェの誕生会
So
で
this
やる
is
わけ
Beatrice's birthday party?
我が主は
My
ベアトリーチェ
master
の腹
says
渡
she'll
で
be
持ち上
holding
げ
a
パーティー
dinner
と言って
party
ます
with Beatrice's guts.
だってそうじゃない
After all,
です
it's
か
only natural, right?
一なる
The
真実
cat
が
box
存
was
在し
only
ない
able
か
to
ら
generate
エコ
infinite
箱は
tales
人間の
because there
物語を
was
追い
no
続けてい
single
る
truth.
しかし
However, tonight, the single truth will be revealed
一なる
thanks to
真実
your
が
key.
明かされそしてそれは
And that means that the cat box will be opened.
まさに
Really is no different from slicing open her chest as she still lives and tearing out what's inside.
そのもつ鍋パーティー
Everyone in that huge crowd, which looks like a packed freeway, is going to one dinner
ベ
party.
アトリーチェの有名さ
I'm not sure what's stronger, my shock at how famous Beatrice is, of my revulsion at those lease bags.
あんたにとって
For you, the book of the single truth is nothing more than an
で
end.
も
However, for all those enjoying the mystery on Rokkenjima, this is an event that can't be missed.
なるほど。
I see.
あれは
So, that's a crowd of those goats who were chewing on Ichan's game board apart. Ange's analogy was an accurate one. The crowd far, far below them was made up of nobles wearing beautiful outfits and goat masks. They were all so intent on tearing the guts out of Beatrice's cat box that they couldn't even hide the drool trickling from their mouths. Those gluttonous goat nobles who derived pleasure from violently exposing the truth were in a line of cars heading towards the meeting place.
猫箱もベアと
Looks like it is the end for Beatrice and the cat box.
ベアトたちは
Beato's group has holed up in the Golden Land, the last leftovers from the game board.
バトラとベアトが
Acting as gatekeepers, Butler and Beato have destroyed the first wave, but they won't be able to stop the second.
我が主は
My master has given me an armada capable of destroying the very concept of defensive measures.
黄金鏡の城
The Golden Land ramparts are as good as gone.
あの島には
Those goats who appeared all over the island, they're the personification of random opinions in the future, and all of them want the island tale to be a tragedy.
そうです
That's right.
あのヤギたち
Those goats keep getting born from the sea of the internet.
第一陣
That first wave was just the riffraff.
第二陣
The second wave will be entirely different.
無数のヤギ
It's made up of the best, elite goats selected from the crowd that are capable of denying all the cowering pieces one by one.
総兵力は
In total, they number in the hundreds of thousands.
島に立て込む
100,000 people to deny the existence of a few dozen hiding on an
用意
island.
したのですお兄ちゃん
Looks like this is it for Onichan too.
もう覚悟は
You're
されてい
ready
る
though,
のでしょ
aren't you?
後ろ宮
You understand that Ushiramiya Butler died in 1986, and that man is an illusion created by the cat box.
幻想であると
Yeah,
分かってる
I understand. Regardless of whether he is my real brother or an illusion, regardless of whether he is the one I'd like, regardless of whether he is who I'd like him to be or not, the butler who created this game board for my sake will die. No, it just means that I'll accept the fact of his death, so it's not like he's going to die now. Ange thought to herself, shouldn't performing the last rites for her brother be her responsibility? This was her final trial which she had assigned to herself. All those people down on the game board were the personification of Ange's naivety. By denying the existence of all of them, wouldn't she finally be able to accept the truth? No, that's not right. I'm not being honest even with myself. Even if it's all just an illusion, it wouldn't make that bizarre Halloween party any less heartwarming. Onichan said it himself. That Halloween party may have been an illusion, however, he was trying to use that party to tell me something.
その第二陣は
Stai cominciando a svegliarti, Ange? Stai cominciando a capire veramente quello che Butler voleva farti capire? About the second wave.
我が主
My master has appointed me to be their commander.
を任せ
Leave it to me, Ange-san.
あなた自
My
ら
master isn't so malicious that she'd make you dirty your own hands. Yes, that might be kind of her. These are my lingering attachments we're talking about. I should be grateful to Bencaster. If she really were cruel, she would probably have ordered me to take charge of the second wave and execute my own family.
同志エンジ
Comrade
あん
Ange,
たは
you are a witch of truth, aren't you?
そうよ
That's right. Probably.
じゃあ受け
Then
入れ
let's
ましょう
accept the truth, okay?
12年
Finally, after 12 years, the single truth lies before you.
私はここで
I'll just sit around here until Bencaster finishes breaking the seal. You'll probably be summoned as a guest for the party. We've got a mirror, so maybe you should wipe the sleep from your eyes. And maybe you should shave before heading out to bed. C'hai ragione, Jover, anch'io ricordo una cosa simile. Oh, nuovo pezzo ancora. Nuovo background ancora. He floated in the empty air. The door to the golden land. Ah, ok, wow. 1 or 2 square meters of tile floor still remain in front of the door, scarcely enough to remind a person that this had once been Kinzo's study. Ah, e questo è il dentro della... perché effettivamente tutto quanto è mangiato attorno, ok? Quindi questo è il retro che non abbiamo mai visto della porta di Kinzo? Strano, è molto... oddio. I wouldn't put it past Kinzo, ok, farsi una porta così. Le statue assolutamente. Per noi abbiamo sempre visto l'apertura da fuori, quella con la manopola, con lo scorpione. Dentro non ha una manopola? That's strange. By now, all of the game board except the golden land had been eaten away, leaving only this door floating in the sea of nothingness. There were 2 figures in front of that door. It was Butler and Beato. They may not have been literally covered with wounds, but they definitely seemed to be dead tired. Butler, leaning against the door, seemed to have finally caught his breath. Beato was also sitting against the door, letting her legs dangle gracelessly. Could the battle against that force really be called a battle? It was more like a mere pushing fight of the increasingly small bit of ground that remained on the increasingly small ground. They had wanted to protect at least Kinzo's study no matter what. And the only fruit of their desperate struggles was the tiny bit of flooring they were sitting on now. The goats fell into the abyss whenever they had nowhere to stand. So now, with so much of the floor gone, there was no way for them to attack anymore. If Butler fought this, his naive hopes were quickly crushed. Looks like we're surrounded. So their plan was to gather their forces and crush us in a single strike. Stretching across the horizon surrounding the door at their backs was an encirclement of countless large sailing ships. As they could clearly see, the decks of those ships were packed with goats. Che bello, tra l'altro, il gatto con i chopsticks. With some of the more foolish and over-eager ones spilling over the edges into the emptiness below. Per fortuna che questi erano best of the best. Damn. I've gone through a lot of crazy stuff in your games. But being surrounded by pirate ships is definitely a first for me. They probably do possess the strength to break through the Golden Land's perimeter. Those cannons are no bluff. Doubtless, they intended to use those to smash through this door and pour in. Along the sides of each ship were several open gun ports, each with a cannon pointing at the door. If all of the ships surrounding them were joined by even more... If all the ships surrounding them were joined by even more, and all of those ships fired at all of their cannons at once, there was no point trying to imagine what would happen next. Butler and Beato grimaced and hung their heads. How long will the Golden Land perimeter hold out against those cannons? I do not know. However, since they are still awaiting reinforcements after amassing that many, I doubt the barrier will break that easily. True. I can't think of any other reason to delay your attack without even sending terms of surrender. For surrender. I hope we can take advantage of this time they give us.
劣勢な側にとって
Time is always the ally of the weaker side.
何かの奇跡を
After
期
all,
待
we
でき
can
る
always hope for a miracle.
あるいは
Though it might also give us time to wither and though it might also give us more time to wither in despair. At that moment, something small and hard hit Butler in the forehead.
いって
Hey, what the heck is this? Competo
ペ
candy?
イト
私よ
It's me!
分かったわよ
I know where Ben and the others are. The Competo candy was Lambda Delta transformed body. She was the only one of their allies capable of crossing the sea of fragments.
おお
Spectacular!
さすがは
That's the
大
great
ラム
Lambda
ダデルタ
Delta, Lady Lambda Delta for
こ
you.
こじゃ奴らに姿を見られ
You'll
る
be
わ
able to see us here.
中で話をしま
Let's
しょう
talk inside.
一筋縄じゃい
It's
かない
getting
ことにな
crazy
って
out
るわ
here. Out there.
分かった
Got
誰
it.
かいるか
Is anyone there? When Butler knocked on the door, it opened and Shannon and Cannon came into view.
はいお呼びで
You
すか
called for us.
すまぬが
My
見張りを頼む
apologies. My apologies, but we need you two to keep a lookout.
お任せを
Leave it to us.
奴らが攻撃を開始したら
When they begin their attacks, don't worry about fighting them. Escape to the Golden Land as soon as they start.
扉を閉めなくていい
Don't worry about closing the door.
しかしそれで
But
は
that means
奴らは
they're planning to ignore the door and smash the Golden
直
Land
接黄金鏡を
directly.
ぶっ壊す気だここで仁王立ちし
Making
た
a
ら
last stand here won't do
もう
anyone
何
any
も防
good.
ぐことはできやしない
わかりました
I understand.
ここは僕たちに任
We'll
せて
take care of things here. So go inside and work on a counterattack. Indeed.
しばらく頼む
We're counting on you. Butler and Beato traded places with Shannon and Cannon, returning to the Golden Land. A gentle rain poured down over the Golden Land rose garden. The Golden Land weather reflected the heart of those inside it. The quiet falling raindrops spoke for the pain felt by those who do nothing but hide here, waiting for the enemy final assault. When they returned to the harbor, the Competo flew out of Butler's pocket, jumped onto the table and returned to its original form.
久々よねこんなスリル
I haven't had a thrill like this in
ま
years.
さか魔女にもなっ
Hard
て
to believe I
こんな
get
ハラ
to
ハラした目
put
に遭う
into
な
a
んて
tight
夢に
spot
も
like
思わなか
this,
ったわ
even after becoming a witch.
それで
Let's get down to business. Nuova canzone?
エンジェやベールンカステル
Just
たちは
where Angel
一
and
体ど
Ben
こに
Castle.
図書の都よ
City of Books.
聞いたことがありま
I
す
have heard of it.
海を渡る偉大なる魔
They
女
say
た
it's a
ちが
place
集め
where
た
all kinds of
様々な
fragments
書物
collected by great witches who traveled the sea are recorded and stored into the forms of books.
尊厳なる
Indeed, the great witch of theater going, drama and spectating's noble city of carefully selected books.
大アウローラ教は
So the great Lady Aurora is the ruler of the City of Books.
なるほど
Truly a suitable
妥当な
place
場
for
所である
her.
なしかし
Nice going, Lady Lambda Delta.
無数に想
Hard to
定された
believe you could
隠れ
pick
家が
out that spot so quickly from all the other possible hiding places.
それがね
Actually, it was pretty
簡単に分かっ
easy.
たわわかるも何も
I didn't even have to
向こうで大体
search
的
since
に
they're
宣伝をしてるわ
advertising as loud as they
無
can.
限の魔女
They're
大
planning a
ピアノに
huge
手帳の
party
猫の秘密
where they'll
大公
unveil
開
the
パー
secret of the
ティー
cat box of the endless witch, the great Lady Beatrice.
なるほど
I see. So they haven't been delaying their attacks because they wait for reinforcement, but because the party hasn't begun
次
yet.
第のせいらしい
そのパーティ
So
ー
in this party, they plan to use Angel's key to reveal the contents of the book of the single truth.
そういうことね
You've got it.
アウローラは
Oh,
久しぶりのイベントなんで
Aurora
世界
hasn't
から
held
賓客を集
an
めて
event
大
like
パー
this
ティー
for
を催す
ages,
わ
and she's gathering VIP guests from all over the place.
未知なる真
The
実の書は
book of the single
そのパーテ
truth
ィー
will
の最後
probably
の
be
目
the
玉になる
party's final showpiece.
エンジェと鍵を取り
So
戻す
that means that we still have a shot at taking Ange and the key back.
時間的猶予
Time-wise, that may be true.
ただ
However, there's a really simple and obvious problem.
なんだ
What?
図書の都
The
は
City of Books is a sacred realm under the supervision of the Senate.
神聖な
It's
結界が張られてい
protected
る
by a holy barrier.
元老院の魔
Only
女
a
以外
witch of the
は
Senate
踏
can
み入る
enter
ことさえ
it.
できない
Non sei una witch of the Senate, Lambda?
パーティーの招待客
Aren't there any invitees who aren't member of the Senate?
ええ
Yeah, there are.
そういう
It
連
looks
中には
like they're
特別
being
に
given
聖域に
special
触れることを許可
invitations
する
which allow them to enter the sacred realm for a limited time.
招
Invitations.
これは
My, now that might be something interesting.
と私も思ったわ
That's
よ
what I thought too.
ところがこの
But it
招待
turns
状
out there's a strict
即現金
policy
で
on punctuality, and this invitation automatically become useless unless you present them before the party begins.
そしてお気
And
の
I'm
毒なこと
afraid to say that the party started a short while ago.
つまり
In other words, it's too late to try stealing an invitation from a guest who's running late.
そういうこと
That's right.
で
So, what do we do now?
誰かポップコーンもらえる
Could someone get me
今
popcorn?
度キャンディーフレーバーがいいわ
I'd like a nice candy flavor this time. As an outsider, I hate to barge into the conversation, but we seem to have no options left.
私たちは
We had already done for,
お
aren't
しまい
we?
なのですねここで座ったまま
Can we do
奴らが襲
anything
ってくるまで
except
待って
sit
るし
here
かない
until they attack?
何かできることがあ
There
るはずだ
must be something we can do.
そうね
That's right.
私たちにできるこ
There
と
is
は
just one thing we can
一つ
do.
だけある
それは
What's that?
1分
We
1
can
秒
just
でも我々
we can keep on struggling for each each second of survival and hope for a miracle.
奇跡
A miracle?
つまり
So we're stuck defending the Alamo.
ってわけさ
私たちに
We
幸福は
cannot
ない
surrender.
できるのは
Our only option is to hold out as long as we can, waiting
奇
for a
跡が起
miracle.
こるのを待つことだけね
ウリュウ奇跡って
What kind of miracle?
エンジェが
Anja could change her mind for some reason.
ここへ戻ってく
There
る
is a chance, maybe one in several million, that she comes back.
そのよう
With a
な
probability such as that, it truly would be a
それは
miracle.
確かに奇跡と呼べるであろうな私たちは
We are here so that we can await Ange-san's return.
ここにいるんです
Yes,
エンジェさんの
Ange-san has nowhere to call home except where we are right now.
だから私たち
So
は
we must defend this place the last minute, waiting for her to come
彼
back.
女の帰りを待たなければならないの
留守をお預かりする
Awaiting
こ
the
とこそ
master's return is the duty of a servant.
ここ
Now is the time that now that is
決まっております
now that it has come to this, I gotta and prepare for that for what may come.
バトラー様
Butler
我ら
sama,
一同
all of us
す
are
でに
prepared.
覚悟は決まっております
シエスタ姉妹
We
この
of
得
the
た
Siesta
一同
Sister Imperial
契約に基づき最後まで大ベアトリーチェ
Guard
のこと
will
ご一緒する
fulfill
であ
our
ります
oath and remain by the great Lady Beatrice's side until the bitter end. Stavo dicendo Lambdatrice. Sono fuso, scusate.
45
45 here, no problems. I shall fight until the end.
ようやく
Finally,
似
a
合いの
fitting place to
死ぬ場所を
die.
見つけた
Nyeh.
に410
No problem from 410. Nyeh.
煉獄の七姉
The
妹
seven sisters of purgatory will stay with Beatrice-sama and Butler-sama until the finish. The 6 younger sisters also show the resolve in their eyes.
アイゼルネイユン
Eiserne
最
Jungfrau
後まで
will serve until the end.
元 SSVD
The
も以
former
前
SSVD got your back too.
そしてあなたも
And please, lend us your power as well.
私
Me?
ああよ
No way.
偵察してきた
Didn't I
あ
just
げ
give
た
you some excellent
そ
intel?
れで私
I
は
think
十
I've done
分
more
協
than
力
my
をしてあ
fair
げたつもりだ
share,
けど
don't you?
あなたは
How do you know that Ange Chan is in the city of books?
もちろんこの
I
目で
saw her with my own eyes, of course.
私
I
自分
never
の目で
trust
見た
anything
信用
unless I
し
see
ない
it for
たち
myself.
ということは
Which means you're qualified to enter this sacred realm called the City of Books, right?
そうと
Indeed.
大ラムダ
The
デルタ
great
卿は
Lady Lambda Delta is a witch of the Senate after all.
ラムダデルタ
Lambda Delta.
何よ
What's with you guys? You aren't gonna tell me to do more work, are
じゃ
you?
ないわよね
My, what an unexpected development. Lady Lambda Delta is the only one who can enter the city of books. And could that possibly mean that this is Lady Lambda Delta's time to shine? Enough kidding around, are you people crazy? Are you telling me to go all by myself and sneak into there one more time and then bring ANGE back out here? The several dozen people surrounding Lambda Delta all nodded in unison. How stupid can you be? If I were to save ANGE, that means crashing the great Aurora's party, get it? I have the whole world as my enemy. And what's in for me? Nothing, obviously. There's nothing you could possibly offer me. That'd be worth getting on the bad side of Aurora and her monsters friends. You get to see a happy ending where Aurora and Ben Castle's schemes are crushed. ANGE comes back and everyone makes peace with one another. What do you say, Lady Lambda Delta? There could be no greater thrill. If you pulled off such a marvelous feat, you would be able to forget your illness for 1,000 years, would you not? We're begging you, Lambda Delta. Lend us your power. Please, please, we are begging you. Help us save ANGE. Everyone clamored for Lambda Delta's help. They surrounded her and begged her for assistance. Please, Lady Lambda Delta. Only you can do this. Give us your strength. I'll show you the greatest of tales. You'll get to see it from the front row. So please, lend us your strength. Shut up! Shut the hell up! Lambda Delta leapt to her feet and crushed the cup of popcorn in her hands. Sweet, candy-flavored popcorn flew everywhere and pieces stuck to everyone's face. It may have been an hilarious sight, however no one laughed. Lambda Delta's face was filled with a rage that none of them have seen before. Could you stop getting the wrong idea? I'm a spectator, I'm just a guest who was invited by Beato to come and watch this game. So why am I supposed to risk my life for you people? You think you'll get a happy ending if ANGE comes back? Are you really that stupid? Ben and her forces will come sweeping through here, mad with rage, and wipe us all out. There's only one reason I'm here, and that's because Leon over there said I get to watch an interesting show. Yeah, I'm sure I get to see a sublimely interesting tale very soon. A sad, sad tragedy as you fight desperately against Ben's forces and get wiped out one by one. Oh, I'm sure you'll each get one less time to shine as you're torn apart. If you just wait a little, if I just wait a little, I'll get to see all of that, won't I? Pretty soon, all of you will be dead. But not me. I'm a spectator, a guest. There's absolutely no reason why I should agree to die with you. No one was able to say a word. In the still silence with no sound except that of the rain, even Lambda Delta finally hung her head in dismay. Sorry. I'm totally lame, aren't I? Yeah. If I stood up right now and said, "Leave it to me," my popularity will surge and I'd probably make it to the top 3 in the next character popularity contest. Ecco, questa è una cosa che fanno molto in Giappone per varie cose, tra cui anche l'hanno fatto per Umineko. Tra un release del capitolo e l'altro facevano i popularity contest. E qua sta facendo riferimento a questo. But still, unlike the rest of you, I'm not one of these story's characters.
死ねないのよ。
I can't die.
あんたたちが深夜に
It's like
クライマック
it's
スはこれから
midnight
だ
and you're
とか言い
telling
込ん
me
でるけど、
that we're almost at the best part.
私も明
But tomorrow's Monday and I've got early cleaning duty at school.
住んでる世
We
界が違
live in
うの。
completely different worlds.
だからさ、
That's why
私を
you
さ、
can't like... Lambda Delta staggered as though dizzy, then plopped down into a chair. Then she became expressionless like a doll, just staring at a single point in space, silently. Sorry.
すまん。
Butler softly apologized. However, Lambda Delta remained expressionless.
俺たちにできることも
There's
尽
still
くさない
more we can do on our own.
あんたにだけ
It's not fair to put pressure on you alone to risk something.
俺たちはここで戦
We'll
う。
fight here and defend this spot
最
till
後
the
の
last
1秒
moment.
までエンジが
We'll believe in the miracle of Angel choosing us over the single truth.
俺たちを選び
If we aren't prepared to
そ
do
れを
that,
尽くさない。
we're in no position to ask you to give up your life alongside us.
俺たちと一緒に命を捨ててくれなんて。
Butler rose from his seat and spun around.
バトラー
Butler.
見張りの二人と交代してくれ。
I'll switch places with the pair
俺
outside.
が
When they come,
奴
I
ら
want
と
to
戦
be
う
in the
時の
front
先人であり
lines.
たい。それが
That's the fastest and more direct way I can show Lambda Delta my
俺
determination.
の決意だ。
わらわも行くぞ
I shall go as well.
お師匠様は
Master,
ラムダデル
please
だ
find
け
Lady Lambda Delta
新
some
しい
more
ポップコーン
popcorn.
を頼むデアとエンジェは必ず
I
来
know
る
Angel will return.
信じねば
If we don't believe, even a possible miracle will not bear fruit.
くじを買わねば当たるこ
You
とも
can't
ない
win
の
a
だから
lottery
ね
ticket unless you buy it. You can win a lottery unless you buy a ticket. Beato also stood up and followed Butler.
みんな
Everyone,
戦いに備え
let us do what we
何か
can
準
to
備をしよう
prepare for the fight.
賛成だぜ
I agree.
ここでうつむいてなんて
Nothing stupider than
バカバカ
just
しいぜ
sitting around here.
そうだな。
Good point.
最後くらい
If we are reaching the end, let's put on a good show.
エンジェちゃんの帰る場所
We got to make sure that that's a place Angel-chan can call home.
私たちも作戦
We
会議
should
が
hold a
必要で
strategic conference.
そうだな。
Yeah.
家具に武具
We
に
have
悪魔に
furniture,
異端審問官だ
weapons, demons, and
この
inquisitors.
ちぐはぐ連合
Must
軍で
be some way for these mismatched forces to cooperate.
さあ妹たち
Let's go, little sisters.
休憩の時間は終わり
Break
よ
time is over.
Siesta time.
Siesta troops, rise. The humans and the fantasy creatures all rose to their feet and left the arbor. Afterwards, only Lambda Delta remained, still staring blankly at a point in empty space. Oh, Eva Beatrice. Bene, direi che possiamo chiudere qui.